Well, hey guys, how's it going? First of all, I'd like to say this is the second time I recorded this video, and I'll tell you why. Because once I got it done, edited, and uploaded to YouTube, waiting for me to be able to make it go live, I found something in my editing program. Now, you just noticed, really, I mean, really, I purposely started this video with the AC running so I could show you my surprise. And now the AC turns off, and now my surprise is going to be, nothing big. I'm so mad. I swear I'm so mad. Well, basically, the surprise was I actually found a background deadening function in my editing program, which means I can erase all the background noise. I just don't believe this happened. Well, anyway, let's just get on with it. This week's this week's video is going to be about things that can go wrong when you're a small business owner. My daughter recently had a little catastrophe in her life. She recently got something other than a 5-star review, and she was devastated. So, we talked about it, and, there's lots of reasons why things can go south, and, an event can get messed up, or how a house cleaning can totally bomb. And a lot of times, it's actually something we did. Very rarely is it really not someone's fault. And I noticed that in my own life. Lots of times, if things go wrong, it's something that I did. It may have seemed inconsequential at the time, or maybe it was something I didn't think was a big deal and then it got bigger. But normally, there's always something that person did that let shit roll downhill. And so with my daughter, for her, she forgot that, one of her clients booked a year and a half ago, and they had an old contract. And the old contract actually allowed you to do some things that the new contract doesn't, because as she has gotten better in her business, she realizes there are certain things that she should not commit to, because it in the long run it will just mess things up. And because she forgot it was an older contract, she kind of had to hope, none of those things came up, and well, it did. And of course, she had two options: just say no, or go ahead and do it because the other person wasn't aware it's not something she doesn't do anymore, and hope for the best. Well, the best didn't happen. And so, consequently, things went downhill. And she was really upset. So she called me and asked me, to help her put together a reply to the bad, review. And we did. We actually came up with a really good one. She actually took complete and total responsibility for what happened, because it was her job to let this older client know that some things had changed and give them the option to decide whether they would continue on or whether they just wanted their deposit back. And she really should have done that. And I asked her why she didn't do that. And she goes, well, Mom, she didn't say she wanted any of those things we don't do anymore. So I thought, we could just be okay. And then, of course, it came up. So, we crafted something because, like I told her, I said, honey, this was your fault. Because you didn't You didn't let her know that there were certain things you don't do anymore. And then when it did come up, you didn't say no, or you could have let them know that this is not something that you do anymore and give them the reasons why. So let them know you're willing to do it in this case. But if things go south, it's not to be held against you. Because basically what happened was the caterer was late, so they asked her to open her bar early. Well, she wasn't really ready to open. And so by opening early and not being fully prepared to open, they got in the weeds. And for those of you who don't know, when you work in the restaurant industry and you lose control of your tables and your orders and things like that, it's called being in the weeds. And since the coordinator didn't even bother to tell the bride that they asked my daughter to open early, it made the bride think that my daughter was just inept. And that's what hurt her the most, because she has nothing but 5-star reviews. And she is very good at what she does. So, we craft something, and just when she's getting ready to reply, the bride calls her. Because now the coordinator has finally mentioned in passing information that they had to get the bar to open early because the catering service was late. Now, and like I told my daughter, the next time you just have to say no. Whether you inform them that you wouldn't do it or not, you have to say no. Because see, nobody knows what time they were supposed to eat, but everybody noticed that the bar was struggling. Basically, you took the catering service's hit, and that is not something you can allow yourself to do in business and maintain your own reputation. So I give it to the bride for reaching out to my daughter and going, I didn't know that happened because I was busy being a bride. So you know what? I'm going to update my review. I'm going to update your stars because you did not deserve this review. Holy smokes, I told my daughter, clients rarely ever change a review. You must have made one hell of an impression on her before the actual day of the wedding. I am really proud of my daughter because she is handling this business like a pro, unlike her mother handled her business, okay? So I thought I would just tell you some of the ways that, things came up for me and how I handled it. I can tell you in 25 years of business, I mostly had 5-star reviews. There may have been a 2-star there, and there was actually a 1-star there of someone that we never ever even gave service to. So I have to assume it was from another cleaning service. But no matter how I handled my business, our stuff was tight. And the way I handled it stopped people from leaving bogus reviews. Because don't you think that I didn't leave reviews of my clients as well? Just like people leave reviews to tell people don't use this company, I left reviews to tell people don't use these customers. And that put a stop to people just being hateful. But no, in 25 years that I had my business, I got fired twice. I almost had to sue a customer once, and I packed up my shit and left 3 times. So let me tell you about my little adventures in business. Let's go. I probably should mention that my daughter and I are from different generations. My daughter is a millennial, okay? She grew up with team sports and ballet and lots of friends and she's a networky type of girl. Me, on the other hand, I am Gen X, closer to Boomer. Now, I actually was more Gen X in my mid-years. I am probably more Boomer now. I'm old, okay? But for us, it was more like survival of the fittest. And yeah, you had friends, but you know, they couldn't be trusted. You still had to protect yourself from them. And you basically had to manage yourself. So I never did networking. Okay? I was never a networker. I remember one time, uh, Leroy was trying to help me manage my business. Okay? Now we also had two different ideas of how things should be done. And so there was something called the Penny Saver. And they offered coupons to businesses. And Leroy's idea was, why don't we both put a coupon, one for my business, one for your business, into this magazine? And I'm like, nope, don't want to do it. And he goes, but why? It'll drum up some stuff. I said, first of all, it's called Penny Saver Magazine. It's a magazine for cheap ass people. They will use the coupons, but they will never, ever pay full price. And I said, and since at this moment, at that moment in time, it was just me and my business and him and his. I said, so basically, you're going to go work your ass off for somebody for half price, and they would never pay you full price. Nope, come up with something better. And you know, he sat down and he thought about it. He goes, damn, you're right, Sheila. I said, mm-hmm. So I am so proud of my daughter. My daughter is building something that when she gets 60, she'll have 100 fucking people working for her, bringing her money every month. Because that's the way she is building her business. As y'all can see, I didn't do that. Okay? I did not do that. Now, if it had been me in my daughter's position, I'd have said no. I'd have just straight up said no. Or, as I suggested, I would have said, look, I'll do it, but this is not going to work because this is why I don't do it anymore. I'll do it, but I don't want to hear no flack about it. And I would have went to her fucking house if she had put up a bad review after I already told her it wasn't going to work, but I would do it. Yeah, because I'm from, y'all know I'm from Baltimore, right? Don't let the smile fool you, okay? So, no, I would have just said no. Because you ain't going to throw me to the wolves to save your precious, catering service. If they've screwed up, let them take the heat. But you're not going to throw me to the wolves. So, basically, the two times I got fired. Once was, I took a job in the mountains, and I took it in the summertime. At the time, I had a Chrysler Sebring convertible. I didn't even use my work vehicle. I took my personal vehicle so I could put the top down and drive up into the mountains. Oh my God, it was a beautiful drive. And for a couple of months, I loved it. Then the wintertime came. And I'm like, even in my work vehicle, which was an Audi station wagon, which had four-wheel drive, and it was great. I'm like, I ain't trying to drive up in this place in the wintertime. And so, as the winter went on, I kept being later and later and later and later. And finally, one day, the husband met me at the door and said, you know what? Just turn around and go home. And I went, okay. And that's what I did. Now, the other time I got fired, what did I do? Oh, college professor. And she was a monthly client, just like the one we just talked about. First time I did her house, nobody was there, which is the way I like it, and which is the way I tell my clients. The less people in my way, the better I can get my job done correctly and out of your life. So the first time I went, there was nobody there. Cleaned that house within an inch of its life. The second month I went there, they had overnight guests. It took them 15 minutes to get everybody out the house. So now I have to wait in my car until they're gone. Now, I don't have to wait, but I really don't want to go in and clean with people in my way. So I made the choice to wait, but I don't want to have to wait. The third month I went. Now the kids are there visiting. Why the fuck are they there when they know the housekeeper is coming? The fourth month, it snowed. And now they're having friends from work and they're all meeting at their house. And then they're going to go out to a late lunch. And that was the end of the line for me. You know, it was just the end for me. And so when I got inside, what's the word I want to say? I sought her out and I asked her, I said, I am only here once a month. Is there a reason why there always has to be people in the house? Does it have to be the one day I'm here? And she was instantly offended. And she goes, I'm not really sure I understand what you're saying. I said, you know what? I still have to pick my child up from school. I still need to go home and start dinner. I don't have time to wait for this. And at that point, her answer was, you don't have to wait, you're fired. I'm like, okay. Now, I can honestly say I never lost a job or got fired for anything that I wanted to keep. But I did technically get fired both of those times. So I hold it as a badge of honor. Okay? Okay. The time I almost had to sue someone, it was an older house, um, and it was on the market for sale. And it was so weird because it was an older house and the rooms were disproportionate. There was one particular room upstairs in the like a corner, and it was huge. My apartment is 1,000 square feet. That room was about the same size as my apartment, but yet the rooms downstairs were far smaller, and there was only two other rooms up there and a small bathroom. It was the most weirdest proportion house I had ever seen. But even more weirder than that, there were ladybugs. There were a billion little dead ladybugs on the floor. I mean, what is this? And so she goes, I need you to get rid of the ladybugs. And then, we can work on the rest of the house. I'm like, okay. So I bring one of my employees. I bring a backpack vacuum cleaner. So I, sweep and then start sucking. It took exactly 4 hours to get all the ladybugs sucked up because I had to keep emptying the vacuum cleaner, sucking some more, and emptying the vacuum cleaner and sucking some more. In the meantime, my employee did the small bathroom up there where I was, and then a bath and a half on the main floor. The next day we came back because at that point I'm going to start the kitchen because I also have to do the stove and the refrigerator, and that takes time while she would do the rest of the rooms downstairs, and then if we needed to we would double team the other two small rooms upstairs. Because when you are a professional cleaning service and you have multiple people in a property, it's like a dance, a choreography. I can't say the word. Like Fred Astaire. Okay, every step is planned and detailed because at the end of the day, you want to have everything done, everybody done at the same time, and everybody done at the front door. So we come back the next day, and I mean, goddamn, all the bugs came back. I'm like, where are these things coming from? So I call her and I tell her, I said, I sucked up all the bugs yesterday, but they came back. I said, at this point, there's no reason for me to keep sucking up bugs. They're going to keep coming back. And she goes, is there anything else you can do? And I said, no, ma'am, there isn't. At that point, she says, okay, I will pay you all for the bathrooms. And I said, you will pay us for the bathrooms. She said, well, it doesn't make sense. And she's one of these soft spoken people. See, I hate manipulative people. One of these soft spoken people. She goes, well, it doesn't really make sense to pay you for the bugs if you couldn't solve the problem. And I said, sweetheart, that's not how it works. And then all of a sudden, that soft voice went away. Then she says, well, I'm going to write a check for 4 hours. If that's not enough, we'll have to talk about it later. And I said, honey, I'm not going to take a check for less than 8 hours. And she goes, well, I don't know what to tell you. And I said, okay. I said, so we're going to leave right now. I'll leave you the bag of bugs, okay, so we can see. But I did take a picture of it. And I went straight to the county courthouse and put a mechanic's lien on the house. Now, for those of you who don't know what a mechanic's lien is, it is a tool that I guess large businesses can use them too, but it's mostly, it works really well for us small businesses who does like home repair or like cleaning, home services. That means that they can never sell that house until your claim is resolved. A week and a half later, she sent me a check along with a note that said, take the lien off the house, bitch. Now, I already don't trust her, so I'm not going to put this check in my account to see if it clears. I took it straight to her bank, used my ID and my business ID, and let them cash it for me straight out of her account. And then I went down to the county courthouse and took the lien off the house. Now, what was the 3 times I packed up and left? Once was a stay-at-home wife. She had 6 kids and she homeschooled, and her husband was a congressman in our little area. They bought a multi-million-dollar house in the worst subdivision ever built. We had to clean that house every single week. And every single week we came back, you could write your name on the dining room table. It had the worst air filtration system ever. So the girls go, because we go every week. And she berates one of the girls and tells them she forgot to clean the nightstand. And so the girl calls me in tears. She goes, Miss Sheila, I cleaned that nightstand. And I said, sweetheart, I know you did. Because if you hadn't, she'd have called me. Remember, this is a woman with 6 kids and she homeschooled. She had this big ass board on the kitchen wall that told everybody what to do every moment of the day. Trust me, if that nightstand hadn't have been cleaned, she'd have called me at home. So now I have to go over there to find out what's going on. And she said they forgot a nightstand. And I looked at her and I said, how can the hell can you tell? The house is dusty. The house is always dusty. I said, but the thing I have to look at is you sleep in that bedroom every single night next to that nightstand. I am pretty damn sure you'd have called me at 3 o'clock in the morning if you had noticed that nightstand still had dust on it. And you didn't call me. And she looked at me and she goes, so what are you trying to say? I said, what I'm trying to say is we're done. I told the girls to put everything in their cars because we were leaving. She goes, well, I'm going to pay you. I said, no, I'm not going to take your money. Because as long as I don't take your money, I can write a review about you just like you can write a review about me. And you know what? She never wrote that review, and neither did I. So the next time I packed up my stuff and left, a lawyer and his wife, who was a nurse, and unfortunately, their child has some issues and he got banned from daycares because he liked to bite people. So they had to both change around their schedules so that someone could be home with him at all times. And so it was already a very stressful situation. Now, I admit the woman was probably going through some stuff. Okay, but just because you're going through some stuff doesn't mean you can take it out on the housekeeper. And she raised her voice at me for no reason. And I decided I was going home. Now, unfortunately, she picked the wrong day to raise her voice at me. It was 2 days before Thanksgiving. And she's like, You're not going to clean the house? I said, no, I'm going to go home. She goes, it's Thanksgiving in 2 days. I said, I know, I'm going to go home. She goes, Sheila, I'm sorry. I said, no, you're not. I'm going home. She goes, well, let me pay you. I'm like, nope, you don't have to pay me. I'm going home. And that's what I did. And then her husband calls me and he says, Sheila, I know this wasn't your fault. I'm going to send you a check along with a little something extra for your trouble. I'm like, fine. Now, when I got divorced, he was actually my divorce lawyer and he handled my divorce for free. Because, see, this is the thing about people who live in glass houses. There's a lot of things you can get away with, but when you choose to be mean to a housekeeper who also has other clients in your social level, now I never talked about my clients. I never talked about, I can do it now, but I never did it before because that is a code. But if you do something that you're afraid I might talk about, well, then you offer to pay me or you pay for my divorce for free. So the third reason why I had to pack my stuff and leave. Now, who was this? Oh, a 10-year client. Most of my clients hung around from 5 to 15 years. And part of the reason why they did that is because one, I was very good at what I do. But two, I also understood the housekeeper's code. You never talk about your clients. You never use your key other than the day you're supposed to use it. You never take anything that doesn't belong to you. And I followed all of those codes. So she was a 10-year client. And from the very first interview, there was some crunchiness, you know? Um, she told me she was not used to paying what I asked. Now, I charged $30 an hour 15, 20 years ago when the going rate was 15 unless you were married maids and you charged 25, you know? So her thing was, I'm not used to paying that much. And I said, I understand that. So you can either give me a try at the rate that I asked for, and if it doesn't work for you, then you don't have to use me anymore. But if you do decide to use me, I'm not going to lower my rate. So we actually started out with once a month, and then it went to once every 2 weeks. And then we got to what she really wanted was once every week. She loved having that fresh house feel every week. And she was a neat freak. So yeah, that really meant a lot to her. But we had our little crunchy moments. One day I went and the house was in disarray and I'm like, well, what the hell happened here? There's luggage, all over the place. And I'm thinking, well, at some point, somebody's going to call me and tell me what happened or come by and tell me what happened. The check wasn't there, but in all honesty, she's been a client for 10 years. I'm not worried about them not paying me. I just wonder what happened. And of course, and the AC was on. The AC in all the 10 years that I worked for this client, the AC was never on in the major part of the house. Only in the family room that was closed off for their dog. The AC was on this day. And eventually, yes, her husband showed up and told me they just got back from Disney World and they had a flat tire on the way back from the airport. And so they were tired. Everybody just threw their luggage in the house. They went to bed and then everybody got up the next day, went to work, went to school. And the AC was on. So he goes, Sheila, I'm really sorry. We completely forgot about you. He goes, I know the house is a mess. Do you need a little something extra? And I said, no. Just the fact that the AC is on. I mean, that's like so nice. You don't have to give me anything extra. And on the way out of his house, that man turned off the AC. And then it finally dawned on me after 10 years from our very first meeting. She purposely didn't have the AC on the day I was there. Because remember, they got home late, but they turned on the AC. And then they were in such a scramble, they forgot to turn it off. So, all this time I just thought they were weird and didn't use their AC. No, they just didn't use it the day I was there. And that was the day I left a note, put the key, got myself out the house, put the key in the envelope, along with a note that said, fuck you, packed my shit and left. And I left a check there because I don't want your money either. And she knew I finally figured out what happened. And I think the reason why her husband offered me extra money is because his wife told him, make sure you turn off that AC too. So, yeah, these were my terrible stories. But the majority of my stories were wonderful. Because remember, I'm from Maryland and I'm a transplant to a small town. And so, they still have small town ways and ideas and things like that. But once I hooked into other transplants, in other words, people who worked in the city but bought houses where we lived at because I finally built a website, I didn't have to waste my time with the natives anymore. Now I'm dealing with people and we understand each other. And the understanding is as long as you do all you're supposed to do, you don't give a fuck what time you leave. Maybe not 2 hours early, but if you want to leave an hour early because you wanted to work a little faster, you go right ahead. Also, they understood that I had a key to everything they held dear, a key and a code. Do you really want to lowball me? They understood not to do that. And it was because of that new type of client that my daughter went to college and ballet school and gymnastics and Girl Scouts and private school. All because I found a different type of client. And that's what I tell my daughter, find your niche. Now, she started out doing weddings, and she still does do weddings, but she got a taste of corporate and older people who just like to have parties with their friends and think it's cute to have a bartender. She got a load of that. That's where she's putting her advertisement dollars for older people and corporate. And I told her, once you find your niche, word of mouth is better than anything. I ended up having 3 clients in the same subdivision, and they were all transplants driving every day to the city. So I hope y'all found this, at least somewhat entertaining. And I'm still mad. Nothing. Now I do hear a little something. So I'm going to go ahead and put the filter on just so you can see the difference. In the meantime, you all take care, stay blessed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.